Right, good evening everyone. If we make a start, it's 7 o'clock. I welcome you all to the September meeting of the Parish Council. Do we have any members of the public who want to address us before we start?
Not this member, thank you.
Okay. In which case, we'll move on then to the agenda itself. Item 1 is apologies for absence. Do we have any?
Just from Adi Toby. He's, I think he's involved in his charitable work with the environmental.
Okay, is everyone happy that we approve Amy's apologies? Okay. So that takes us to the next item, which is declarations. Are there any declarations of interest, pecuniary eligible interest and dispensations?
Sure.
Thank you. Sure. Thank you. And just my normal ones of, as a member of Somerset Council, trustee of the parish hall, and the dispensation for the shop. Okay, item 3 is approving the minutes of the meeting of the 2nd of August, which you've all had circulated. Are there any amendments to those? If not, can I have a proposal that they're a true and accurate record? Thank you, Malcolm. Thank you, Colin. All those in favour, please show. That's unanimous. Thank you. Do you want to sign those?
Yes, please, just to show on one signature on that.
Thank you. Item 4 is planning considerations. I'm advised that actually the first planning consideration there, the 723 00015, the notice of permission has actually been issued today. I think you said it has been gone up on the website, so that one is already decided. Just for members' notification, we did actually ask for an extension. We didn't get a notification back that they weren't extending. But equally, we hadn't heard that they were, but they've obviously gone ahead and done it. Just a little bit of information at the moment. There is, I think it'd be fair to say there are shortages of staff at the what was central planning. A number of the officers that used to be there are no longer there, and no officers have been recruited in addition as yet. It is underway, but I think the system is creaking slightly at the moment, so we'll have to keep an eye on applications as they come through. Next item is then the repollarding of the willow at 6 the Willows. Who was looking at this one? Colin? No. Sorry, I thought it's different as appointed. David?
Basically, it's very straightforward. They want to repollard, which has obviously historically been done, and they want to do it to relieve weight and reduce the risk of tree splitting where decay has been identified. So, good management, really.
Anybody got any comments on that one? In which case,
Mr. Chairman, can I propose that we accept this application on the grounds of good arboreal practice, which is our usual.
Yeah, and again, providing that there is no issues raised by the tree person. Yeah, that's a little adjunct we add to it just in case, because we're not actually tree experts, are we?
Okay, so we've had that proposal. All those in favour of that, please show. I'm saying on that just so.
Right, okay, yeah.
If it does come, I don't think it's going to end up going to committee, but. Okay, 72320, crowning the sycamore at the Willows, and is that?
Yeah, I'm happy to. Basically, good practice again. Reason for thinning to allow wind to pass through to improve durability in a storm and reduce mechanical stress on selected limbs with structural defects. So it's very technical, but basically taking out some weight.
Yeah. Okay, Colin?
Mr. Chairman, can I propose that we once again pass this on the grounds of good arboreal practice, and for whatever reasons we amended the last one too.
Okay, if there are no other comments, all those in favour of that, please show. Okay, carried again. Thank you very much. So, clerk's report.
Yeah, not a great deal to say other than one of the things that we had fairly recently on the 24th of August, we had a clerk's forum. And these forums are quite useful because the one thing about being in this role is that it can be a kind of lonely existence sometimes. You're sitting in your office doing all these things and you just want to be talking to people with similar job. So we get together now on a quarterly basis, and I think I sent you the details. Barrow, Brent Knoll, Burnham, Without, Churchill, Cossington, Loxton, Lewisham. So quite a variety of parish councils represented by the Clerks Forum. There were a couple of absents this time. But we got through, we don't have a formal agenda, but we got through quite a whole raft of things, things like email consistency, which we're going to talk about later, financial software, banking, local community networks, which again we're going to be talking about later, clerks' skill sets required, increasing by the year, social media issues, demise of Sedgemoor District Council and the implications of that, payroll software changes, conclusion of audit, and we're going to have the meetings on a regular basis. The other thing is website accessibility issues. We need to think about all of us actually, all the clerks, we all agreed, apart from one actually, Sally Diaz at Puritan. We've all got the disabled access on our website in statement, but our website is not actually disabled accessible. You see what I mean? So we've got the statement, but we haven't got the. So we're going to have to do something about that sometime over the next sort of 6 months or so to try and get that back into shape. We're all in the same boat because if you look at pretty well all the councils in the area, hardly any of them have got proper disability access. So we're not alone, but we've just got to try and tighten that one up a little bit if we can. So that was really what the meeting was all about, and we're going to be meeting again in November. So, hopefully that will continue and run on. But apart from that, I don't have any other matters to bring forward in my report, certainly.
Okay. Any questions from members? No? All right. In which case that takes us on to the working group reports. We'll start with anything from the footpaths.
No, the only thing I was going to say is on that business that we've discussed before about the path around the water tower, it was brought up that in years previously, owners of footpaths just randomly had letters saying, you need to clear this. And I think that David pointed out that John Harper used to regularly get letters saying, clear your footpath. And he would just send someone up there to clear it. And it was just, yeah, that OSC continues to be a little ongoing issue up there.
Bit of an update on that one. I actually spoke with Adrian today. So there, I think Colin actually circulated some pictures of the footpath around the reservoir where the water board of...
I didn't circulate them to her, I sent them to her.
Okay, but sent some pictures to us showing that work has been done by the water board, so they've made a really good job of that. Yeah. The other landowners we contacted to have another word with, and they have, as they contacted me today, to say that they are going to be sorting their path. They're currently doing some haymaking and stuff up there. Once that is sorted, they will both do the surface and they will cut back the hedge along their path. So they are acknowledging that it is for them to do, and they have got it scheduled. It will be once they've done the works in the field that one is now going to be done. So we'll keep an eye on it and keep talking to them.
I was just thinking going forward, because it is like over waist tight and it has been for months.
Yeah.
And it's, I know they said about cutting the hedge, but it's not the hedge necessarily that's the problem, it's the vegetation in the path.
Yes, no, he has accepted he's going to do both.
Yeah, okay.
So,
and the contact we made with Bristol Water was a really good one.
I've
got his actual number now, his actual number, so I'll give you my number. So if we get a problem again, I've just got to give him a ring, say, can you go and clear
they do a really good
So I don't think we'll have a problem with Bristol in the future.
No.
I think
that's good.
because he was very quick to react. Once he got back off his holiday, he was very quick to get on with it. So, yeah.
Okay. Are there any other ones? Can I just maybe pass to the footpath committee a couple of issues? I've been contacted by a resident in the village who has raised concerns about the path. I believe runs off. Well, it's from it's from Middle Street.
Oh yes,
also
I had that email as well. Yeah.
So if maybe someone
Yeah.
could take a look at that and
Yes.
see what the issues are, and then we need to work out what
Yeah,
needs to
we
be
were
done.
trying to work out, David and I were trying to work out who the actual landowners were, because he knows the lie of the land down there, so we were trying, yeah.
Okay, and also there's a,
There are several in there.
Yes,
Yeah.
yeah,
I think also it might affect the roads off Han Road as well, the path that heads out that way
Yeah,
is also a
yeah, I
concern
think
with
so,
some of the
yeah.
bridges, but again, if we can identify the issue, then
Yeah.
we can look at it.
yeah.
I've also been contacted by a member of a local running club who they apparently use quite a lot of footpaths around the Knoll, and they've highlighted one or two of them that are in a bit of a state. Again, if I pass on the details to,
Yeah.
to the group, if you can have a look maybe
Yeah,
while the
well,
weather's still
yeah.
decent,
Yeah.
and then we come back to see who we need to chase.
Yeah. We're wrecking that one.
Excellent. Okay. Anything else on footpaths? Nope. Okay. Look, again, just thought come across mind. The footpath that runs up the side of the cider farm, there was a discussion about the difficult gate access at the bottom of it. Did we work out who the owner of that gate is?
I
in
know
order
who
to chase?
I know who it is. I know which house they live in.
Okay.
Yeah.
If you could
Yeah.
confirm that back to me, and I'll have to go and have a chat with them. But
Yeah.
it is
I'll get a phone
the
number.
gate is very difficult
Yes,
for
I'll get, yes.
unless
It
you're
is,
fair.
yeah, I'll get a phone number.
Okay, excellent. If that is footpaths, takes us on to highways. Anything, Malcolm, that you've had brought to your attention at all?
When you come to the end of Brent Street, before you get to that nasty bend Station Road, by the side farm, if you're turning left, there is a hedge on the left-hand side in a field. It's very difficult for drivers or cars or pedestrians to see round this hedge. Well, it's a tree, it's not really a hedge.
Alright, so that's...
So are you coming from Brent?
You're coming from
Brent
here,
Street?
going up Brent Street, and you're going to turn left
Yeah,
into Station Road,
yeah.
and it's just on the left-hand side. It's a tatty shrub, but it does block
Right.
your vision.
Okay. I think we can have a word with the landowner on that one.
Oh,
I do know who the landowner is on that field, so we'll take that up with them and ask them if they can cut it back. They have done that for us previously, haven't they? So, okay. Anything else on highways? Nope. In which case, Village Green. Colin, I think it was yours.
Yeah, right, I did the inspection, and you can see outside the grass is quite long. The problem is that at this time of the year, the cuttings are left on the grass. And I noticed when the kids were playing yesterday, they were kicking up the cuttings, and it wasn't a very nice environment for them to be running around on the green. Not sure whether this might come up later, but cutting of the green does seem to be an issue. But it was very tidy. The perimeter fence, the green fence, has been trimmed both inside and outside, and all the inside of the village green has been well trimmed and tidy. It's just the grass that's a bit odd. Benches and picnic tables are all in good order because you've resited them now, and we've got those maintenance-free things in place. There was some litter in the area of the mugger, which I did clear, a few items of cans and plastic bottles, but I noticed on the mugger surface tonight coming in, someone else has decided to drop a can there, which is clearly, it's probably just kids. Maybe a bin might be a little more accessible rather than for asking them to move over the other side of the green. But the car park was okay, but it was a little overgrown in the side, this end. But I assume that Jason will look at that sometime. The gents' toilets was in good order. Everything was okay. In the ladies, that was also nice and tidy. However, the hand dryer is not working in the ladies. No. I think that sums up the inspection.
That'll be Marcus Bluntman's job, I guess, won't it?
Do you want that for your records?
Yes, please, thank you.
Anybody else got any issues to do with the green?
The only issue, I did observe is that the trim trail
Yeah.
is very close to the wire fencing that National Grid have put up. And I think it's a bit dangerous if one of the kids were to slip and fall into it. It may pay us to close off that area in its entirety until we know what's happening.
Okay.
So if we contact National Grid and get them
Yeah.
to extend their area of
Yeah.
fencing to...
Yeah. Are there any notices on it? I've noticed. No.
No.
Is everybody happy that we do that we put that piece of kit out of... Okay.
And we need an offer for September. We haven't got a person for September because we've only got 10 councillors now. So you happy to do that?
Okay, thank you. Yes, Colin mentioned obviously the picnic benches. Can I just thank... he's not here, but AD...
Chief of Plant Green.
yes. So, as I say, AD, Amanda and David had a bit of a bash up there, and it was looking good.
Thank
you. Well, but it's... I think they seem to have gone in okay and being well used. So, excellent. The one other thing I was going to mention under Village Green Car Park was at the last meeting I was asked to... we discussed the possibility of action that may be required on the apple tree. As you know, we've discussed on previous occasions whether it's something that stays or goes, or whether we have it trimmed back or what. The last meeting I was asked to get an estimate as to what the cost would be if we were to remove the apple tree that is on the edge of the car park. The figure that has been quoted is £350 as a ballpark. Obviously, were we to go ahead, we'd need to get quotes from others to see how that works out. But I think it's something we need to decide whether it's something that we do want to get sorted or not. Melina?
If there is talk of the apple tree being cut down and disposed of, I would pay the costs of whatever it is to have it relocated, rather than losing it, having it dug up, and because you can transplant trees from one place to another.
David?
I'll counteract that and say we've discussed it so many times in the past. What about getting rid of it and putting in a sizable Christmas tree to save the village having to buy one every year, and it would be more used maybe, because we do get quite a lot of complaints about apples. I mean, it's an apple tree, but we seem to always get...
No, I'm talking about having it,
yeah,
if it's going to be cut down,
yeah, I know
take it away from there. Yeah,
So,
It's
Or
quite
put a Christmas
diseased.
tree in its
I
place,
believe
so-
it's quite diseased, isn't it?
it's pulling the tarmac up
Yeah.
as well. But
Are we confident that there are no cables or underground services underneath it? Because if we were going to have
probably not.
a huge machine in to excavate it, that would be...
But the cable's being routed anyway, isn't it?
Surely it's going to be damaged inside the building and the scaffolding and everything else.
Yeah, I mean, the discussions we've had, long time before shop was being discussed, there were discussions about whether or not the apple tree stayed or not. Then we had some quotes for having it quite severely pallarded because it was needed to be reduced in if anything else was going to happen around there. It is just a question. I mean, if you were going to try and reroute it, with a tree of that age, you're going to have quite a root bowl that you're going to have to take out to make it survive.
You'd have to have quite a sizable machine in, and an actual burlap machine that goes...
Yes.
It would be considerable operation, especially going through the tarmac to get it out. You'd be into the thousands to move it.
John?
So I think from my point of view, I think it's nice to have some sort of fruiting tree there. It provides obviously stuff for the insects and the other animals. It'd be nice if it has to go that we did replace it with at least some fruit trees somewhere else, if that's the only option. It has obviously an impact on the insects and the other animals around. So that would be my thoughts.
Okay. Jamie?
No, I was just, yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah.
Any other comments? So,
Why are people
Tracy?
wanting it removed?
I think the feeling has been that it's been, over the years obviously it's got quite a lot bigger than it was. It's now taking up the side of it's working its way into the car park, and there's quite a lot of raised tarmac there, so it is now lifting the surface in the corner. and it was felt that really it's just a bit, it's grown too big for the site that it's in.
So what if we went with something like John's proposal and put some fruit trees on the green down the right hand side? After they've done the cable, and obviously not on top of the cable, but near it, just sort of down the right hand side, put 4 or 5 to replace one.
Yeah.
Because ultimately it's going to be, it will be a problem in the future at some point, but that's my feeling, but it doesn't, I'm not worried. It's got to be trimmed if nothing else.
Okay. So, can I have a proposal?
Well, I'll propose to remove the apple tree, providing we replant an amount of apple trees.
Because I think from what you're saying, if we did plant some down the right-hand side, it's not going to take up a lot of the green, and it would help to reintroduce some of the vegetation that used to be there when the willows were there, which were on the other side, which have over the years disappeared. Okay.
What do you feel?
Melina.
Sorry. Do you think
I mean, my offer still stands that if that tree has to be removed from that location, I would pay to have that tree dug up and moved to another location. If that tree's got to go.
Okay, I mean...
Because I thought the tree had to go to make way for the shop.
I mean, it's not no. I mean, that's not the deciding factor to some extent, because it is something that's been raised before the shop was ever on the horizon, and we do get regular complaints from car parkers of fruit.
Park at your own risk.
Yes, it is absolutely. But I mean, I think the recommendation was that we get rid and we look to replace with others. If we're happy to sign up to that, I will get some further information from a tree surgeon as to what the feasibility is of the removal and re-siting.
So what was the £350 that you mentioned at the
That's saw it
start
off
of
and
it?
cut it off.
Oh, right, okay.
That's literally just get rid.
Oh, wow.
And does it go, are you going to have the stump?
Grind out all the stuff.
So it hasn't quoted for the stump grinding.
Because you can't, the roots will still function,
It'll try and grow back.
notwithstanding.
So then-
So you really need to take the tree down and the stump out.
Yeah.
You know, and even if you put a Christmas tree there, as Dave suggests, you're going to get the same problem in years to come with roots.
Yeah.
So logic says remove it, but look at alternative places where we can replace it, and I think people would want to see it replaced.
Yeah. Okay. And on that basis, then I will. So the recommendation that's being moved then is that we remove the tree and we look to replace with alternatives. Are we happy that we go with that route? And then we also get further information about in terms of what the costing is of removal and stump grinding, or digging out and relocating somewhere, although we will have to have a location that can take it.
Yeah.
Because we don't, as a parish, we don't have any land other than the green.
I mean,
that we could put it on.
if
So
you put an apple tree on the green, you're still going to get falling apples, and they're going to be trodden into by the kids, or wasps, or all sorts of things.
John,
So on the Whaley's plan that we've been sent out in August, it does show the 3 trees. There's nothing on the index to actually show what that represents, but I'm guessing that's the 3 trees. So I'm just asking the relevance of the 3 trees being highlighted on the Whaley's agreement.
those 3, as far as I can, without looking at it, but I think that is the apple tree and the 2 that are on the far side. Yeah. So they're just highlighting trees that are there, of substantial size.
It's for working time normally, because of the root extent of how far the roots go out.
Okay. So in principle then, what we're saying tonight, we're happy to get rid of that, get rid of the apple tree, either by relocation or by taking it down. and then we'll get further information about the feasibilities of the options.
I was just going to say, if that tree is going to be removed,
Yeah.
there needs to be, there needs to be some sort of provision for the making good of the car park service, because that will be a considerable amount of tarmac
Yeah.
to make good as well in the
Okay.
cost.
Also, I think we need to do it before National Grid, because it's that close to where they're rerouting cable, it's going to get damaged. Anyways, isn't it?
Well, part of the rerouting though is to take it away, that it doesn't affect too closely that.
Yeah,
Well,
because
taking the
because
peripherals.
those roots of it are going
Yeah,
certainly
on the road.
the extent of the canopy.
Yeah.
Yeah, probably into the road.
Okay.
But if you relocate it, you don't dig up all of the roots.
Well, you would if you'd want to make it survive. A tree of that size wouldn't survive if you didn't burn up the whole root ball. If you cut the roots off, then the chances of it surviving are small. So it'd be fairly pointless doing it if you don't if you don't take the whole root ball.
John?
It's
Was it-
it's one road.
Was it planted for any particular reason in the village? Was it
Just
just
not that I'm
just arrived? Here.
It's probably someone chucked an apple
So
core.
Okay. So in terms of the proposal then that we have is for removal of the apple tree by either relocating or taking it down. All those in favour that we go ahead and get some quotes for those alternatives, please show. That's unanimous, that's fully carried. Okay. One further tree issue, just so I can raise with you while we're here, and it's again, Owen made reference, I think earlier on, we've had, we've been advised, I think I mentioned at the last meeting, that the tree at the top of the green is top right hand corner near the electric transformer. We were contacted by the neighbours who were concerned that they'd had it pointed out to them by a tree surgeon that they thought it had ash dieback. Again, at the last meeting I was asked to go and have a word with Sedgemoor to see what they thought about it. They've been out to have a look at it and they think it has got ash dieback, and their recommendation is that it needs to go. It's a substantial tree. It is, as you look at it on the green, it is on the far side of the fence, but it is on the near side of the green, so technically it is on parish council land. The people next door had an estimate from the tree surgeon as to what they thought it would cost to take it down, and it was about £1,600. Estimate that I've had from a tree surgeon was about £1,500. Both have said, were it to be having works on it, because of its proximity to the transformer, National Grid need to be involved, and that would probably have to be turned off when the works are being carried out. So both suggested that we took it up with National Grid and said, actually, because it's so close to your piece of kit, would you mind dealing with it? Because they've had experience where sometimes that has worked. So if you're happy, we'll try and take up the thread with National Grid and see if they can deal with the problem. Obviously, it is going to die. There's nothing we can do to stop that. It's both this tree surgeon and the tree preservation order officer at Sedgemoor were of that opinion. It is TPO'd, so she would have had to have had a look at it anyway, but as said, in her opinion, we would have to apply for it, or someone will have to apply for it, but she would not oppose it because of the nature of the fact that it's already diseased and it is dying. So if members are happy, we'll follow up with National Grid and try and get them to either pick up the bill or at least organise the works, and then maybe we may have to make a contribution, but we'll bring that back to you before any decisions.
Right, got that. Okay.
Okay, that takes us on to audit and monitoring and staffing.
Nothing from that group. We haven't had a meeting. That working group, there's nothing to report on that.
Okay, building works group.
No, we haven't had a meeting with the buildings working group. We had a shop working group, not a buildings working group.
Yeah, so which takes us on to the shop working group.
So the shop working group, you've got the notes which I pre-circulated. This was the meeting we had on the, I think it was 22nd, I think it was, yeah. You've read the contents of it. The key part of it was to get the shop's agreement to the Section 14 matters, which might be part of the tendering process, and for which we will have to reclaim the shop's agreed element of the cost. And that was the main purpose of that particular meeting. It was quite a short meeting actually, because they were very much in agreement to what we said. Do you agree with that, Tracy?
Yes, yeah.
Amanda? Yeah, they weren't controversial at all, they were very straightforward really. So, you know, whether we get them to sign the agreement, I don't think that's necessary. I think, you know, I think we're a gentleman's agreement on it. I don't think there needs to be a big issue made of it, to be honest. But it's up to you really. So that's that.
The only thing is if they are not acceptable to the costs associated with it at the end of the day.
Yes.
So I think there should be some form of undertaking, knowing that they will in fact pay for them, and okay, they will be, how can I put it, we will be open and transparent with them, but they can't turn around and say, well, it's too expensive, I'm going to go out to somebody else.
Yeah, sure.
That would not be.
I think the idea would be that when we go for the tendering process, whoever tenders for the work, we will need to get the shop involved in the final cost and say, right, okay, we've had the tender, this is the one we've agreed to as a council. This element, section 14 element, is X, Y, Z. Are you happy with that, guys? And get them to agree to that. I think that's the way forward. So they've got to agree to what, because at the moment we're talking about numbers that we don't really know what those numbers are until we've had a tendering process. We don't know what the figures are. So without that.
So again, just for clarity for anyone who's not up to it, the section 14 in effect is that the original agreement was we were going to build a box, they were going to kit it all out. Because of building regs and to get that signed off, it has to be built to a higher standard than just a box. So the section 14 in effect will have listed in it everything which is the fit out cost for the element that gets done by the shop, so that it will be clear that when someone is tendering, which bits of it are parish council liability and which bits of it are shop liability when that tender is then looked at.
Yeah, it's quite a comprehensive list of items actually. I don't know what the percentage cost would be, but you know, quite substantial.
John, can we hear just what some of the items would be as the first question, and second question, were solar panels discussed as part of that conversation?
Not the conversation we had in the working group, no.
Okay.
The items, I mean, internal doors, window walls, architraves, ironmongery, signage, cold water service, hot water heater, hot water service, thermostatic valves, lagging, sanitary ware for the shop, WC, and lobby, electrical installation, shop and accessible WC in the lobby, shop store, go on. It goes on for about 3 pages.
I think there was also all the electrical
Specifications as well, air conditioning unit, roof space, internal finishes. I think that gives us a fairly comprehensive list of the sort of things that they're going to be responsible for.
So in effect, it's everything beyond the main structure of the building, anything at the internals, including their fitting out the internal walls, which is up to them as to what we've obviously put where they are, but that's part of their cost because that's part of their setup.
And the reason why we're doing it this way is because obviously Paul Martin, our architect, says he won't be able to get building consent without these being done by the main contractor. So therefore we can't have a split. So therefore we've got to then effectively claim back on the shop what they would have paid for had they done it separately.
John and Melina?
Just one question on toilets. Is the plan still to have one toilet for the staff inside the shop?
Yes, correct.
And second part of that question, my understanding is the law is about to change regarding male and female toilets. Has that been considered, and are you aware of any changes?
Not as yet, but as things stand for us with the toilets that we're having done, we in effect would have 2 external toilets. If they have to be separate as they are now, male and female, that could be done. If they don't, then they could be unisex. But that's literally that's a detail, because it will only be, it'll be like the disabled the accessible toilet in here, where in effect you just have the normal sanitary ware, you don't have sanitary ware that is aimed at men.
I understand that for the externals. The question is about the internals. So my question is, if the law does change, would the toilet have to be 2 toilets inside, and has that been considered?
Well, I think the answer to that is that the building regs won't be approved if it's the law to change it. In other words, they won't be prepared to give building regs if it doesn't comply. And if it doesn't comply, then obviously that decision will have to be taken to make the alteration accordingly.
And that'll be something I'll need to look at in terms of one. I think my understanding is the internal toilet is a toilet for the staff who are working there. They're not aiming for that to be a customer toilet. So that will be something that they'll have to sort out with building regs and whatever the regulations are.
And given that that is quite a comprehensive list of things that are going to be over and above the additional box, would it not be wise to get a signature from somebody confirming that they're going to pay for it rather than a gentleman's agreement? Because a contract surely would be cheaper than...
Yeah, I said if it's the council's wish that we should do that, then we will do that. But I have to say that we do have a good working relationship with them. They are a community shop. They are part of our village. I wouldn't anticipate, if they agree on the figure that we come up with eventually from the tender, if they agree on that, I can't imagine any circumstances which they would go back on that. But if it's your wish to do that, then I'm sure the council will agree to do so.
Also, these are not additional costs. They would have had these costs anyway. It's just happening through the main contractor rather than them doing it themselves.
I think
Yes, no, I understand that, but if the contract is going to be between the council and the builders, not the shop and the builders, so if the shop decided not, something for whatever reason, I mean, I know they're a village asset and everything, but you know, sometimes people do stick the village various ways, whatever. You know, people don't always stick to their word. If they were to go back on it, the council would then be lumbered with those costs, whereas if there's something signed.
Yeah, I think certainly before we signed up into contract for a tenderer, we would get that confirmation. At this stage, ultimately, until we accept the tender, we're not bound. And if the shop suddenly said they weren't going to do it, then we would have to be considering whether we are proceeding with the tender. Because if that sudden lump wasn't being paid for, then it puts a different light on things.
Yeah.
But I think, so, and again, my understanding is from the meeting, there was those who were present from the shop were happy with what was being put forward. Whether we simply at this stage ask them to just confirm that to us, and then, as I say, before we sign up to any tender, we would have to have something more formal with them to confirm that that's not going to change.
Yeah.
That's
Good with that.
Yeah.
Okay, so is everyone happy that we proceed on that basis? All those in favour, please show.